They're going to be starting off with their first ban, taking their sweet time, and they're like, yeah, Rome, we're not going to play Scarf.
I'm not too sure about that Scarf ban coming out of them. Knowing their opponents very well, they tend to lean away from that Scarf. Upfire is not in this game, so they do have, you know, a little bit of movement room where Qualfier actually plays an excellent Scarf.
Yeah, and for me, I don't think it really hurts them in any way to leave that in. But essentially, then you have just the Adagio as the obvious ban here. What does that leave out into the map here for Team Secret?
See, like, this is something that I really didn't get from them. Now that Team Secret's going to be picking up the Adagio, maybe Mousesports really wants to put them back on that buff composition that they have something ready for. Like, you know, picking up that glaive works out very well against them.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised here that they actually let Secret get the Adagio because, you know, while they did just lose with it, there are weaknesses to this composition. I'm sure Secret has, you know, figured out, you know, what they were doing wrong, and they're going to look to correct those issues. But I mean, the Vox ban, do you think that's the appropriate ban?
The Vox ban coming in, it does make a little bit of sense. They are looking back at the first game that Team Secret played against G2. When Team Secret was grabbing up the Adagio comps, and then Mousesports, I mean, G2 was picking up the glaives. It worked out very well, and I think Mousesports here is trying to replicate that.
Okay, well, it all makes sense to me when you break it down like that. Mousesports, they've got that fortress, they've got that glaive. This is an offensive, in-your-face style of draft. This is exactly what Rome was talking about, how the meta has been developing. And this is why we've been seeing so much, you know, of Finn, of Arden, you know, these great heroes that can kind of help control positioning, keep allies alive.
I think they're listening to me now. See, I'm on sync with you guys again, Team Secret. We're good.
Well, sometimes it just takes a little while to sync up, you know?
Yeah, like a couple losses or a couple games here and there, then, you know, you get back on the right page.
That's right. You lose a little bit, and you're like, okay, we better do what Rome said in the first place. So it's going to be the Adagio with the Cruel, with the Arden. Now this is the Cruel buff comp, and it's going to be going into the Fortress, Glaive, and Sky. A lot of firepower.
Yeah, so I actually would have preferred if they picked up that Finn from Mowgli, just to make sure that he is able to force accord everybody, especially when they use their mobility to get away. With that glaive coming in for the afterburn, he'll probably try and get Adagio out of that picture first. But should Mowgli be there with that Finn, it would have helped them out a lot more. But they can still win this. Like, they are very dependent on that Cruel. They just have to make sure that they zone out that Sky first.
Yeah, definitely. And we'll see. Qualfier, he can self-buff. He can buff as ally. It's all about how it needs to be played in the time that it's happening, guys. We've loaded into the game, so let's go ahead and jump right in here. Let's see what Action Jackson and Betty's have to say about this.
Thank you very much, guys. Really looking forward to getting into this third, fourth place match. I'm a little bit concerned about the composition Team Secret are running, though. I feel like if Palmatoro is the one with all the focus, buffs, that kind of thing on him, and an Afterburn comes across and knocks them away, or Great Kali just kites back with Surrey Strike, Team Secret might struggle a little bit.
Well, they might do, but the reason why Kroll is actually really good into Glaive is because he does a great job of just sticking to it. So you can initiate via the Hell's Heart. You can initiate using your A, or you can initiate using the movement speed buff that you get from sitting in a brush. And on top of that, you have to remember the great combo that you have with a Krull and an Arden, where every time the Krull goes in, the Arden is instantly there to support him. So it's quite easy to stick to the Glaive because his only real disengage or engage is that Afterburn. And if you're being forced to use your Afterburn on the Krull, then that's not necessarily a bad thing for Team Secret, because then the Adagio is just going to sit on the backline and get a lot of free damage down. So I feel like the bigger concern is going to be that Sky. It is that much harder for Kroll to stick to the Sky as we've seen in the past. So I would argue that this is going to be more about Great Kali's positioning and the amount of damage that he can output as the game progresses.
All right, well, we'll have to see what happens. Something worth noting, though, 3.4K to the 2.9. Already Mousesports managing to find a few advantages. I believe Great Kali's CS, and actually the CS in the lane as well. Mr. K-Cool against Qualfier is the reasoning for that. Something that if Mousesports can maintain is going to put them in good stead for hitting their power spikes that little bit earlier. Interesting, actually, how well Mr. K-Cool is doing up against an Adagio in lane on Glaive.
Yeah, this isn't that surprising, personally. I have seen quite a few Glaives in lane do relatively well. They have that cleave for decent wave clear, and you also have that afterburn presence to just disengage, just like that. So you can also set yourself up quite nicely for ganks as well. So if the Sky came into the lane, you could use that afterburn to set Kvalifar up so that the rest of your team can follow up quite nicely. So yeah, I'm quite keen on the glaive up in the lane. I think it can be quite nice, but I am a little bit surprised that they would put Mr. K-Cool on the glaive and they would put Great Kali on the Sky. Not that I don't think Great Kali can play a good Sky, and not that I don't think Mr. K-Cool can play a good glaive, but Kali is famous for his glaive.
Ooh, Net Toilette. That's a lot of damage right away. Kvalifar trying to hunt this one down is actually going to get the kill onto Mowgli, even though Kvalifar had an auto attack trailing after him. Great Kali manages to escape, but it's first blood to Team Secret in this third place match. That's going to set them off to a great start.
Bit of a misplay coming out from Net Toilette. He shouldn't have face-checked the brush, and I don't think he was expecting the rotation down from Kvalifar so quickly. So needs to be a little bit more aware moving forward of the positioning of Team Secret if he wants to make those sort of aggressive plays. And he wasn't even able to set up any deep vision off the back of it either. So just big mistake, but gold advantage still in the favor of Mousesports right now, given that the farm is actually going quite well for them. Just look at the difference between Great Kali and Palmator right now.
Pretty massive. 25-16 is nothing to sneeze at. Did a good job off the back of that earlier invade, but now that Kvalifar has picked up a few more items, you can see Mr. K-Cool really beginning to struggle. Forced back under his turret, but here comes the gank. They want to change this. Kvalifar at the target. Great Kali just can't get on top of him, though, as Mowgli is backing him up. Oh, Mr. K-Cool! Just a little bit greedy there. A little bit.
That was actually really well played from Kvalifar as well, because he used the Agent of Wrath on a minion to heal it up, to then apply the Arcane Fire. So then he buffed himself with the Agent of Wrath. Sorry, he used the Gift of Fire on a minion to get the splash damage of the Arcane Fire, to which he then used Agent of Wrath on himself, so that you do bonus damage to targets that have been affected by Arcane Fire. So it was a very nice play from Kvalifar that Mr. K-Cool did not respect. But yeah, I would give credit to Kvalifar though. That was a nice play.
Definitely got to wonder if Mr. K-Cool is feeling a little bit off his level right now, though, given the fact that he is an incredible Adagio player, probably could have anticipated that sort of play, and maybe just didn't respect it enough. Kvalifar finding that kill is actually still not going to return the gold lead to Team Secret, though. In fact, they've fallen a bit further behind since earlier on. Although, actually, with the minion miner picked up, they've now evened things up a little bit. So, yeah, that does bring the gold back to an equilibrium between the two teams. Mousesports do have the farm lead still in their back pockets, though.
So, Mr. K-Cool actually decided to rush that tension bow, going for an early to mid-game sort of itemization. Wants to try and have an impact at this sort of stage of play, but given the way that Mousesports have been playing, it doesn't really look like that they're going for any kind of early aggression. It's actually Team Secret going for it.
Net Toilette just, like, jumped into the bush, and I can't really work out why. Like, he had no backup. He very nearly died there. If Kvalifar had been just a hair's width further up the lane, he would have gotten the auto attack that would have killed him, so... Very interesting play there. Kvalifar does have to be careful right now, though. 1 versus 3 in the lane, trying to get the Verse of Judgment off, but he can't quite do it. Mr. K-Cool picking up Mousesports' first kill in this game.
So that was a nice play from Mousesports. Able to collapse on an overextending Kvalifar results in finally Mousesports getting onto the board. So great turnaround from them. But I want to highlight something that we have to take into consideration. Mousesports have just come off the back of a loss. They lost their opportunity to make their way into the finals, and you have to wonder how that's playing on their mentality, because there have been a couple questioning decisions. We saw the chat when the two teams were discussing pre-game, and you have to wonder how much that has affected them as the gold mine is being started off.
Gonna be taken away by Mousesports. No steal from Team Secret, but they are gonna pick up the kill onto Great Kali. Looking for a little bit more right now, but Kvalifar actually missed his pathing there. Got stuck in the gold mine pit, so he couldn't quite get around to keep the fight going. That Toilette gonna be duking it out with Mowgli right now, but unlikely he's gonna be able to find too much from this as Palmator is nearby. Overall, pretty good fight for Team Secret. They're starting to do a decent job here, but the gold's still in favor of Mousesports.
Ooh, Net Toilette gonna face check.
Oh, that's not a good position to be in. Palmatora picking that one up, going on to Great Kali as well, but it's going to be unlikely that he can really stick on top of this guy. Sky just a little bit too mobile. Kavalifar heals himself up. He's looking for some kind of damage, but Mowgli goes down, and now it's 2 versus 2. Palmatora hovering in the bush. I think Kavalifar has given away his position there by being bold enough to stay. Secret are not going to find anything else. Mousesports back away.
No, 1-for-1 overall, but I think Team Secret are going to be happier with that trade because they were able to steal away a nice chunk of the back camps. Great Kali, he's not done yet though.
Oh, he got to be careful though. That's the stun coming down. Oh, wow! The fire finally burns him down. Kavalifar just barely able to secure that kill. 5th of the game for Team Secret as Palmatora looks for a little bit more. Afterburn away from Mr. K-Cool. He did not want to chance it.
Certainly was a gift of fire right there from Kavalifar. Don't think Great Kali was quite expecting the damage to come out from Palmatoro. Decided to go for a very early Shiver Steal, so he just wants to be able to stick onto his targets. This is something that we were talking about very early on, where when you have that super high mobility Sky, they're kind of difficult to stick to, but you know who's not difficult to stick to?
Mr. K-Cool getting stunned up by From Hell's Heart. That's a lot of damage coming through from Kavalifar. He picks up the kill with the smite. Palmatoro, in fact, was the one getting the credit for that. This is now the 6th kill of the game for Team Secret, and they've got a turret. So finally the gold lead actually going in their favor off the back of that, even though their farm has been struggling a little bit.
So you can see what I was talking about earlier on, where the moment Mr. Keiko uses that afterburn, Palmatora has a number of options with which he can use to then close the gap again. And if anything, you're helping him if he hasn't used his ultimate, because the longer the range, the longer the duration of the stun. So you punt him away, and then he immediately throws out that From Hell's Heart, and there's nothing you can do about it. So quite an effective pick into the glaive, and obviously in a 1 versus 1 scenario, there's no way that a glaive is going to out-trade a Krell. So, speaking of glaive,
he is taking a lot of damage right now. One more attack might do it, but the reflex block just in time. Fire still burning on Mr. K-Cool. Not enough to pick up the kill, though, as Gauntlet goes down. Team Secret aren't done yet. Great Kali is stunned up by that one. The smite picks it up. Team Secret keeping this ball rolling in the early game. Might be able to go for another turret here, too.
this is how you play an early game crawl. I'm really impressed with this buff composition, actually, that Palmatoro, he doesn't even have that many aggressive stats. Ooh, is Mr. Keiko going to be forced to disengage?
That Toilette might be the big loser from that exchange, actually, with From Hell's Heart landing on top of him. Kavalifar easily able to hunt him down, pick up the kill. Great Kali has rejoined the fight, but he's just not that strong right now. Does have the Frostburn, but look at the turnaround from Mowgli. The damage from Kavalifar is massive right now. Mr. Keiko also needs to be careful backing away there. Kavalifar is just on fire right now. I see 3 for 1 for 3, dealing so much damage.
Yeah, really cool stuff coming out from Palmatoro, Kavalifar, and Mowgli. Team Secret looking like their usual selves compared to what we saw before. And yeah, this crawl buff comp really impressive, given that look at how Palmatoro doesn't even need that many aggressive items, yet he can still do an insane amount of damage just thanks to the buff that comes from that Agent of Wrath. And Kavalifar going a little bit more towards that selfish build. Oh, as I say that, he just picks himself up a Shadow Glass, so now he's going to be working much more towards primarily buffing up Palmatoro and saying, alright, here, I've got a bunch of crystal power, my buff to you is going to be that much bigger, so I'm just going to make sure that you're going to be dealing all the deeps as we progress into these next few team fights. Crucible finish for Mowgli as well, which means that it's going to be that much harder for Mr. Keiko to disengage from any of these fights. And with the Aegis completed for Palmatoro, it's going to be that much easier for him to stick onto his targets as well. So Team Secret looking very strong right now. Only 11 minutes into the game. Likely going to take game 1 of this series.
They are very, very far ahead at the moment, sitting at 4,000 gold, which if you consider their earlier deficit, is a big turnaround. But at the same time, as we move forward, if Great Kali can maybe pick up his Broken Myth, start kiting around these fights a little bit better, perhaps we'll see things turn in the way of Mousesports. Also, another big thing to note, Great Kali caught out in the Gauntlet last fight. Definitely can't afford to be stunned up as that really mobile Sky. Here comes the Gauntlet again. He walks right into it. Gonna go down to Palmatoro. I was just about to say that maybe moving forward, if a Reflex block gets picked up or a Crucible, which there is on that Toilette, that might not happen again. But it feels like Mousesports aren't reading the map very well right now.
No, they just seem broken, really, if I'm being honest. They don't seem like the usual Mousesports that we're used to seeing. Team Secret, they're going to try and take advantage of this and push on to the first base turret of Mousesports, and they're going to secure that one with ease. And then they're just going to disengage. They could play around the Kraken, they could play around the gold mine. The entire map is their oyster right now, as they have as many options as they want, and I think their option is the ambush.
Yep, Great Kali going to be initiated on from Hell's Heart. Doesn't land, though. Great Kali trying to find that kite backwards, but he can't do it. Shiver's Steel keeping Palmatoro on target. Kvalifar wants more. Net Toilet going to be the main focus, but he is going to be able to get away with Mr. K Cool, using that afterburn to save his life. Team Secret running into the base here at 12, nearly 13 minutes. Just going for the end, potentially. Great Kali still 5 seconds on the respawn. You can see Team Secret really starting to train away with this one.
Nice.
Kvalifar, Burst of Judgment doesn't stun up Mr. K Cool, but it does get Net Toilet as Mr. K Cool needs to run back to base. Vein Crystal is now exposed. Can Team Secret turn around this fight? Maybe go for that. Great Kali has taken a decent chunk of damage, but Kvalifar a little bit too afraid to keep this fight moving. He's just going to back off. 10 for 2, Team Secret in big control of this game. Already having all the turrets down is massive for them. I don't see any easy way for Mousesports to come back into this.
Yeah, Team Secret, they were very methodical in the way in which they played that. They sat in the bush, waited to get the pick onto Great Kali, and then knowing that they had the numbers advantage and just using the poke that Kvalifar has, they forced both Mr. K Cool and Net Toilet off the turret. And then they just continue their push. Notice that they used the minion candies on the wave that they had to just be that extra tanky sort of support that they needed to take down the Vein Crystals. They secured both of them for themselves. Then they very smartly disengage rather than overcommit, giving that potential comeback opportunity. And then they're going to pick up the gold mine. They're going to finish off a couple more of their items. And now they're going to try and close out this game. With only the Vein Crystal left, it should be pretty easy for Team Secret from this point on.
That's going to be the gauntlet going down right onto Great Kali, finding the stun. So much damage down onto him. The reflex block not going to be enough to save his life, as Net Toilet is the next target. Palmatoro diving on to the base. Going to be taking a decent chunk of damage, but it's not going to be enough. Mr. K Cool needs to run away as well. Minion wave coming in here, being pulled away from that Vein Crystal by Mousesports, but Palmatoro is on top of it. I don't see any way for Mousesports to defend Game 1 quickly, going in favor of Team Secret. They've got their eyes on the prize. They want to make it to that next live championship.
Yep, and they're well on their way to doing it. Mousesports just don't seem like the team that we're used to seeing. I feel like that semi-final match did break their spirits just a little bit because they're not as coordinated. I mean, they only managed to get 2 kills that game, but in part you have to give credit to the way in which Team Secret executed. Their rotations throughout the map were very consistent. They weren't afraid to force fights, and they very quickly punished the fact that Mousesports were quite readily able or ready to just face check those brushes, which Team Secret were very quickly able to capitalize on. So great play from Team Secret, but also quite a few misplays coming out from Mousesports in that game.
I've got to agree with you, and moving forward into game